Tom, it's great to see you today.
Nice to be with you, Jason.
Thomas, you're a well-known economist at the Hudson Institute, and you've studied Russia for decades. What do you see going on there? How's the economic situation now in Russia?
I think the Russian economy is slowly deteriorating in a good number of ways, both sort of in terms of production and in terms of the financial situation. First, in terms of just the consumer economy, which is important, inflation is a huge problem. It's anywhere between the official rate of 8% and what the famous economist Steve Hanke says is closer to 24%. Because of the fleeing of manpower from Russia and the killing of soldiers on the field, there's a massive labor shortage, which is affecting production and the normal economy. Let's call it the normal economy. Also, the shifting of resources from manufacturing things like automobiles to manufacturing weapons is slowing the consumer economy. Financially, the loss of massive amounts of oil and gas income that they normally would have gotten impacts their budget. It's a contributor to inflation because of the impact of inflation on interest rates. But a somewhat underestimated factor is Russia's sovereign wealth fund, which they've used to fill in the holes because of the loss of export income from fossil fuels, is starting to be serious. They've depleted about half of their sovereign wealth fund. And since taxes on oil and gas exports are one of the major contributors to that fund, they're rapidly running out. And the seizure of Russian assets abroad and the inability, the capture, if you will, of the income in the United States and Europe from those assets abroad to be used to help Ukraine is also a drag on their economy. So overall, it's a weak economy. It's getting weaker as time goes on because of the various sanctions and because it's, half of the economy now or so is devoted to the war effort.
So, going forward, though, Putin has said that he's plans for the economy. For instance, he's promised a lot of spending on the social level very soon in Russia, building homes and a huge new investment in the Russian military. Do you think that's going to help the Russian economy, or what's going to happen?
Well, he doesn't have the money to do the social welfare investments. That's clear. Seems clear that any new income that they have, and I don't see a new source of income to devote to these things, would go into the military. So the fact that he's promising these personal social welfare benefits, housing benefits, is an indication to me that there's rumbling at a popular level that is causing him to want to respond to the likelihood of even more discontent deep inside the Russian society.
As you're aware, Ukraine is carrying out a number of attacks on Russian oil facilities. What is going to be the outcome of that? Do you think that's really going to impact the Russian economy? And what else should Ukraine or the West be doing in order to put pressure on the Russian economy?
Well, the attacks on the oil refineries certainly hurt, but from what I know, they're not major destruction of the refining capacity. Russians have been able to recover some of that capacity. So Ukraine needs to keep that up because it does hurt the economy. It's another source of, a major source of income is the export of oil. In the short run, it doesn't affect the economy that much. But if Ukraine can get access to longer range weapons which is starting to happen as the U.S. and Europe loosen up their restrictions on their military aid. That could, in the sort of medium term, really hurt the Russian economy.
Well, a lot of people have said, though, in the end, China is going to come through and bail out Russia and be there to support it. How likely do you think that is?
Uh, it depends a lot on the political will devoted by the United States and its European allies and its East Pacific Rim allies to squeeze China through further sanctions that they have imposed to try to cut off the aid that China is giving to Russia. I mean, there are things like semiconductors that are essentially channeled through Hong Kong and Central Asia, but oftentimes, more often than not, with complicity of China, the involvement of China. What the allies could do, and there's some indication in the recent sanctions announcement in the United States, is really hit hard at the Chinese banks that are complicit in financing these transfers. They're also complicit in paying for the oil that China is buying and the gas that China is buying as well. And since the Chinese economy is weak and almost their only source of growth that they have right now is exports of manufactured goods and some technological goods to the West. They have to be very sensitive to Western sanctions. And so in the long run, China may have to make a choice between Russia and its own economy. And given that its own economy is weak and the social compact in China depends on, or the political compact depends a lot on growth and the economic welfare of the people. I don't think that the Chinese will choose Russia in total defiance of their economic dependence on the West.
So, if Moscow can't count on Beijing, can it count on BRICS? What sort of future do you see for the BRICS countries? And what sort of economic future can that alliance expect to have?
Well, most of the economies in BRICS are pretty weak, with the exception of China and India. And I mentioned the Chinese dependence on the West already. India cannot provide either the market for to in any way substitute for Western markets. It's just not a strong enough and big enough economy. Also doesn't have the technology that is available from the West. So if Russia depends for its economic future on the BRICS countries, they're going to have a hard time. It's not a crutch because of those economies, again, apart from China and to a lesser extent India, are so weak and have such poor growth prospects that it's just not going to work.
Tom, that's really great. I appreciate your time today.
Okay, nice to be with you.